Bruh. Hello, gamers. And welcome to the Friday stream. Hope everyone is having a good Friday, and I hope everyone has had a good week. At least a good enough week. I also hope the microphone is picking up correctly. I tweaked a little bit of the volume here. Honestly, I'm just still playing around. I cannot get everything to work out exactly as I want it to. It sounds good to my ears, but of course, it's my ears. Oh, still low? Oh, let me check. Yeah, the capture, it looks good, but if I try and raise it too much, then whenever I go back into the VOD and upload the video, then I start clipping a little bit. It's probably just distance and orientation of mic. But hey, Georges. Oh. Hope you're having a good week. Getting tea out. I got a lot of coffee. I'm not feeling really well today. Yesterday was already a little bit meh. Today my throat is itching a little bit. I have a little bit of a runny nose. Hopefully I didn't get anything too serious. My partner had the same thing yesterday, 2 days ago, yesterday, and they tried the swab for corona, so, and it was negative, so hopefully it's not that. 2 years in, and hopefully I didn't manage to break the streak. Oh, new work on bot swing. Yeah, I need to pull. I need to rebase my branch. But yeah, folders, profiles, icons, and play sound. That sounds great. Actually, one thing I wanted to do was, so apart from my launcher action, which is something that I'm still working on, but I also wanted to look at some stuff with deeper integration with the system, like being able to hook into dbus interfaces, not exposing like add custom dbus action stuff, but being able to like for instance integrate with the shell actions, the shell dbus interfaces, or action provided by other applications. Because I have so one of the things I'm working on the side is a little utility application that is used to do timing when doing like video games or measuring actions for like speed. It's not, well, speed running is one of the use cases, and one of my ideas was to expose actions on the session bus for that. So every time you pass the section in a game, you could press a button, or you can basically call an action and it would register the time when that happened. and ideally that would be a prime use case for an action for that. But I don't know if I want to make a specific action for that, so a specific plugin for Boatswain for that, or if I want to have a little bit more of a generic describe the dbus method you want to call on this interface, and these are the parameters that you want to pass. So that I'm flip-flopping between the two, like having a specific action for a specific application, or having a more generic action that allows you to call a dbus action with a fixed set of parameters. But yeah, that's one of the things I'm looking at the moment. But yeah, the OBS integration would be already massive. Yeah, hopefully more people will start looking at that. I mean, the Stream Deck is good for streamers. It's great. I mean, allows you to not having to deal with this stuff, to like having to look at the keyboard and basically having a programmable device. But I'm also interested in stuff like having a programmable keyboard hooked into the system, because it's really useful. It's in part it's useful because we don't have global key combinations. Like applications cannot register global key combinations, but also because honestly you don't always need that kind of stuff. But you need a programmable device that lets you do that. And yeah, the launcher action would be pretty cool, because then I can avoid going to the overview and launch an application or do something like that while I'm streaming. So yeah, I'll try and finish it for this weekend and open a merge request so you can laugh at my code. Hi, Alatiera. Yeah, launchers and folders are pretty powerful indeed. Being able to have basically the dash of GNOME Shell as a separate device would be pretty cool. So you basically are launching stuff without having going to the overview. And at some point, I fully expect GNOME to have global keyboard shortcut, so that application can be launched or action can be performed using the keyboard. But yeah, the Stream Deck is kind of nice of that way. Plus, I've seen people that are basically building that kind of the small device with custom stuff, custom buttons, and basically creating a custom keyboard. That would be another interesting thing to have. Yeah, registering the global shortcuts is fun. Yeah, in the case of Boatswain is kind of different. The application is running in the background, so it's slightly different, and it's also stuff is happening on a separate device, so it's not emulating a keyboard at that point. It's literally on a separate device. It's more like what's it called? A Wacom tablet. You have a separate device. It's kind of sad that you don't get any help from the windowing system. So it's not like it's been injecting events inside the global input system, but I mean a proper I don't know, a proper integration might be using exactly that. So having the compositor essentially monitor that device exactly like it does from tablets and keyboards and everything else, any other device. But yeah, it will be an interesting exercise. At the end of the day, an application has to deal with that kind of stuff because it has to program the device anyway, so it has to talk to the device directly. Yeah, will be cool. Maybe in the future. But I find it I find it pretty good in the global sense, in the global perspective. I find it really good that we can create an application that does that on Linux in a reasonable amount of time. And we get a pretty good user interface and user interaction model that kind of rivals with the official application. Because I've seen the screenshots and the user interaction with the official Elgato UI, and yeah, I mean, yeah. libadwaita looks a lot better. Let's just say that. The Elgato UI is very gamer. The gamer aesthetic. Yeah, especially for that. It's all drag and drop, which is not great as well. I mean, I could boot into my Windows installation and test it out and see what happens there. It might be an interesting side tour, but I don't want to be accused of just suggesting we copy that. I'm pretty sure George's and our design team can do a lot better. I mean, come on. Yeah, I speaking of the design team, I do hope that the design team will take a look at the work I'm doing on the tagged entry and then come rescue me from having to deal with Sass and CSS. I think it's not bad copy. I mean, okay, let's be clear here. There are just so many ways in which you can present the same information. You probably want to have something that is slightly resembling of the reality of the device. So you have a layout and you have everything like that that resembles the device, because that's obviously how you deal with this kind of stuff. Exactly like we present the Wacom tablet physical reality when we configure it. And other than that, it's basically just selecting a bunch of action and putting them at the right place. So there aren't many ways you can structure the basic layout for this. What you can change and what we should think through is the overall interaction model, so it doesn't serve just the drag and drop shit around to make it work like model. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm thinking. It's without going into the so we have to walk a kind of a tightrope there, because on one side you have a very skeuomorphic, crappy design that is just very 1997 Winamp skin kind of approach. But on the other hand, you have a boring office like here's how you set up this device in a corporate environment kind of thing, which is kind of boring and not really cool to look at. So we have to live between these two extremes, I guess. And I think I think libadwaita has what it takes to live between these two extremes. It has a very good visual appearance without going into the corporate, like, enterprise UI solution, which is, to be fair, I've seen enterprise solutions that are garish and terrible to look at because they are corporate. But I also have seen, like, you have the gamer stuff. I mean, you could probably make every single control have a neon highlight. And then you can sell it as a gamer device. Yeah, precisely. Gamer GUIs are corporate apps with neon RGB lights. Yeah, and if you replace neon RGB lights with like solid colors, they are not gray, but they're probably blue and red and green and like solid, like custom templates, then you get, again, corporate apps. I mean, I don't know how many of you ever had to deal with the RSA VeriSign key management for VPNs and hardware devices. The UI was terrible, was skeuomorphic, but it was skeuomorphic to an actual device. But if it were like designed by an alien who came to Earth and somebody from IT described the device to them, it's kind of like that. So let's just say that corporate design and gamer design are very much the horseshoe theory of design. Hello, Gunhead. I am not going to do a try not to laugh challenge. I'm sorry. I don't do challenges. While reading Reddit is impossible. Come on, no. Hi, Chip Will. Yeah, the GNOME documentation challenge. It's already a challenge. I'm doing that most of the time. Yeah, I don't do React. I'm sorry. I don't do this kind of stuff. I'm afraid. Okay. Okay, so let's transition to my desktop so we can start looking at the tagged entry widget that I was working on Wednesday and Monday. So I've done a couple of things while not on stream, mostly because I wanted to like explore a couple of things there. Today we're finishing I guess the infrastructure. So where we left. So on Wednesday I added the tag view tag widget, which basically was just reflecting the state of the tag object that I added to the API, which was pretty trivial to implement. One of the things that kind of was a little bit iffy was the fact that the icon of the tag, which is optional, was always visible. The GTK widget for the icon was always visible, and which meant leaving some space before the actual label of the tag. So it's kind of a problem of GTK image. GTK image as a widget will always reserve some space. It will reserve some space if it has something attached to it, but otherwise it will always be visible, in which case there might be some margin, some stuff there, which is not great. So in order to have a way to make it visible or not, depending on whether the icon is set, I added a new property, a read-only property, to the tag model, which is called hasIcon. And again, it's a read-only property, and it's set if the icon is not null. At some point, I will add texture probably, or paintable property to the tag object. So the condition here will be a little bit more complicated. So if the icon and the paintable is set, then the hasIcon property will be true. And then we notify whenever we change the icon. So whenever we change the icon, we not only notify the icon property, but also the hasIcon property. We could replace it to hasImage or something like that to make it less tied to the icon concept. But essentially, that's what it does. That's all it does, is a property that is read-only, so you cannot set it. It will be set as a side effect. So usually documentation for read-only properties is, something like this. The w tag has icon, whether the tag has visible icon. I really like the fact that the style of the GTK doc stanzas has changed in the newer version of GNOME Builder. Now the title and the annotations are highlighted, which is really great. And then whenever we have here the icon of the tag, setting this property will also set the property tag as icon as a side effect. One of the important things of documenting properties in GObject is that you should always also document side effects of setting properties. Never assume that stuff will happen. Always specify that if you're setting this property, this other property will be also set. Or if you're like calling this function, this other set of stuff will be also set or be called or whatever. I've seen far too many libraries that have classes or signals slash properties slash methods that have side effects and they are not documented because the side effects were added after the documentation was written. And when that happens, it means that the documentation doesn't get updated. And if it doesn't get updated with side effects, imagine what happens when the internals change. Who knows? Maybe stuff will work. Maybe stuff will break. It's completely undocumented. So always document side effect. Okay, so yeah, I added that so that the widget can then use a property binding to say if the tag is an icon, then the icon gets to be visible and vice versa. Which gives us the ability to set here. As you can see, now we have this tag with an icon and the other tags do not. And now there is no space left between the label and the rest of the tag. You can also see here my terrible attempts at a first styling. Yeah, there's a far too little margin here and the button is too big, but I also haven't styled it at all, so I only styled the tag here. But yeah, so this is the stuff that I've done off stream, mostly because I wanted to test it to avoid having to discover everything on stream. Because libadwaita is, well, while GTK is using CSS to style its widgets, its contents, libadwaita is not using straight CSS for its style. It's using it's using Sass here. So the way it works is libadwaita will use Sass to generate the CSS that will then be included inside the library and then will be applied to each widget. So the theme is embedded inside the library itself, but it's written using SCSS, using Sass. And it's using Sass because it's a complex theme. It's a complex style sheet. It has a lot of moving parts, it has a lot of styles, and it's complicated the way it's written. Luckily for us, designers know Sass, so they can deal with it. I don't know Sass at all, so I will have to figure stuff out using my tried and true approach of doing the bare minimum and then putting the screenshot in front of a designer who will then proceed to either throw up and then fix it or just straight up fix it. Again, I'm terrible at this, so there's a reason why my blog has a style sheet that is basically monochromatic or like grayscale. Yeah. Okay, so the way I've done it right now is adding a new style sheet fragment that styles the tag element. The tag element is what the tag widget uses. We defined it here inside the class init using the CSS name. But I also added the flat class to the close button because it's going to be, I mean, it's useful to have a flat appearance here, so it doesn't appear like a weird random button, and it only appears on a hover. I could also use the circular. Let me double check here. Okay, pages, libadwaita. There are libadwaita as documentation, documents the entirety of the style classes for yeah, for the Adwaita theme style sheet. I need to start calling it style sheet. It's not a theme, it's a style sheet. So there's the circular one, which is what I'm interested in. So we can actually use this instead of having our own fragment. So GDK widget, add class, and then we can go inside the here and we can remove this stuff. So we can get it's always better to reuse as many classes as possible. There you go. Now I can see here. Now it's very like flush to the edge. So we want to have a slightly different one. Okay. So here we want to have a little bit more padding horizontally. We don't want that much padding vertically. So we do 0.4px. And then even the button, we probably want to have let me think, a minimum size. No, not minimum size. I'll have to check how big it is inside the how's it called, the inspector, mostly because I don't want the close button to be as big as the close button inside the window. Like for instance here. So yeah, now I can see we have a padding of 4 here. I don't want it to be as big as this one. I want it to be slightly smaller. So I don't want it to cover this entire area. And probably I don't want it... yeah, I don't want it that way. So it's going to be... top is going to be 0. Right is going to be 0. But I want it to be still like this. I have to also tweak it so that it flips around and the padding gets flipped. So I'll have to change the padding for a different direction. Maybe see, we can see this way. If there is an LTR RTL variant. But yeah, basically it's going to be an image button here. Essentially what we have inside is a button in an image with an image class. So it's going to be an image button and has a minimum width of 24 and has a padding left and right of 5 pixels. This is way too much. So maybe we have to change the class and undo all of this stuff. So if we want to do that, we have to do something like this. So it's going to be button. So we're going to do min width. It's going to be smaller than that. Instead of 24, we might be able to use 16. And then padding left is going to be 2 pixels and padding right is going to be 2 pixels. It's mostly a trial and error here, what looks good and what looks bad. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller there. But we need to have some padding in the text here. So we'll have to also have a label and have padding left. Let's see, 6 pixels, padding right. In theory, we could use characters here, but it gets pretty iffy. But yeah, now you see it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more legible. We could even start the tag not in the middle of the curve of the border here. And also you can see a problem of the flowbox. So one of the reasons why flowbox isn't the proper widget for this task. Flowbox will allocate the same size for every single widget so that it can maintain rows and columns. You can tell it not to, but it will try still to align everything to rows and columns. So we will need a new layout manager there that does reflowing without having columns, essentially. But still, as a first approximation, is kind of okay. Okay. Yeah, you can see now as soon as it goes on a separate line, it will stretch the tag widget, and now the button here is not flush with the edge of the container. And we should probably have another button here that add a custom tag, so you can specify the text of the label or specify the image of the tag. But yeah, again, that's some additional stuff here. And as you might have noticed, you cannot set the color here of the tag. You'd have to specify inside a little bit of CSS. The style here, it's using current color as a variable. It's a variable only in Sass. It's not a true CSS variable. But the overall idea is that if you define your own style that says tag, color, whatever, then everything else will use the current color that you set, which also allows you to do things like accent colors or stuff like that and have the theme automatically use that. So all you have to do is set the default color, the current color for your tag. Let me see if I can get it. So if I try and do the this, so if I move this, I do tag color red, yeah, doesn't do that. Oh, sorry, not color. Color. And I have to undo probably background image as well. No, there you are. Yeah, you can see it will do this, and it on over it will do other things there. Yeah. But yeah, it's basically all it does is this kind of simple thing. If you want to style the tags, you basically have to load a bunch of CSS to do that. I think this is probably the easiest way to deal with this stuff, mostly because it's the only way to ensure that the color that you're specifying or the overall style gets properly integrated with the rest of the style sheet. I don't think we can do a custom drawing that way. Another option is to have something like this. Let me see. So having the tag API have like, yeah, another property that is like props tag CSS name, like this. null1 g param read write. And essentially what you do is inside the widget, then if the CSS name of the tag model changes, then we add or remove the tag, the CSS class from the widget. So at that point, you can create a tag with a specific CSS name, and the CSS name gets taken from the overall style of your application. So yeah, that's an option that we can explore. It can be, I mean, it can be problematic. So if you add a CSS like class that way, you're kind of mixing presentational with non-presentational, like a presentational value with a non-presentational object. And as I said, you can, even if you don't have access to the tag widget, you have access to the tag element inside the CSS. So technically speaking, you can still style the way you want it to. But yeah, basically, we could add a name property to the tag, and that name is the class of the widget inside your CSS, and it can be used to do matching that way. So it's entirely possible to add it. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to add the paintable as well. Property into gparam spec object paintable. Static strings, explicit notify there, and then, well, we have to add it here. So icon and g clear object. Here. A paintable is like, so a paintable is an interface for objects that can be, unsurprisingly, painted. So the objects that know how to paint themselves, that is the definition. So anything that knows how to paint themselves with the GTK snapshot API is representable as a paintable object. So you have textures, for instance. What the fudge? Okay. Oh. Paintable can be, for instance, a texture, a GTK texture. A GTK texture is merely a pixel buffer, immutable pixel buffer. So it's what replaces GTK pixbuff in GTK4. except GTK pixbuff allows you to literally modify the pixel buffer, which is problematic in many ways. Whereas GTK texture is immutable. Once you create a GTK texture with a bunch of pixels, it's there for eternity. This is because we take the texture, the GTK texture, and we upload it to the GPU. Assuming we are drawing on the GPU, we upload it to the GPU immediately. And once it's on the video memory, you cannot touch it again. In order to touch it, you have to download it from the GPU and into system memory, then modify it. At which point you have a different buffer. And if you have a different buffer after you download it and you modify it, then you have to re-upload it again. So you're not literally modifying the same buffer you uploaded to the GPU first. Which is kind of a fundamental difference between GTK 3 and GTK 4. GTK 3 assumes that you have access to the entirety of the output because everything lives in system memory. In GTK 4, most stuff that relates to how things are drawn and what kind of things are drawn, they don't live on system memory. They live on the GPU. They live in video memory. So what we are doing here is having multiple accessors. So you can set the icon of a tag, not just as a literal G icon, but also as a paintable. So in theory, you could put paintable, another widget as an icon, because widgets are paintable. Oh, hi, Ornitor. Ornitor, 1K. Thanks for the follow. But essentially, that's what we are trying to achieve here, is being able to present something to the user that is graphical in nature and is either an icon, a representation of an icon, so theme, an icon from a theme, or a pixel buffer or whatever, but also something that knows how to paint itself. So something that is not just an icon. For instance, it could be an animated SVG, for instance, or another widget entirely. Let's see an example. For instance, the avatar class in Adwaita here has a bunch of API there, but the end result is an object that knows how to draw itself. So in theory, we could put an actual avatar widget inside the tag. Let's see if I can get the G defined. Yeah. So you could do a bunch of stuff there. You could implement a paintable, a widget paintable, and then do very interesting things. So you could have a tag inside the tag entry that has the user avatar there, and then the name, and then a close button so that gets removed, or not have a close button at all. The only limitation we have is that we cannot have interspersed tag widgets with text. So we can only have tags at the leading or the trailing edge of the text entry. that is our limitation. Let's go back here. Yeah, set paintable. We have it here, set paintable. We are not including GDK, so we need to change the header we're including, because GDK paintable is not part of GIO, it's part of GDK, which is part of GDK. So we have to include GDK. And then we go inside our tag object and we add new case here. And now we have to modify here. So self icon not null or self paintable not null. So this, the has icon property, Boolean property, will always be true. It will be true if either of these two are true. We need to add an element here. And then we have to add the public API. So let's add here the implementation of the setter and the getter. There we go. To avoid doing like messy things, every time we add an icon, we clear the paintable as well. So we only have one between an icon and a paintable. We cannot have both. An image cannot show two things at the same time. So here we clear. Sorry, no. If self icon is not null, so we have an icon, then we clear the paintable object. So if you call set icon equals null, but you have a paintable, then we don't care. And we'll have to do the exact same thing for paintable. Usual guard, and then we return paintable here. We'll also have, if we actually we can do this. And here we return if we fail this precondition check, and another precondition check is here. So you can pass a null paintable or something that is a paintable. If paintable is not null, then we unset the icon, and then we do the object notify by pspec. And we also notify Come on. The as icon property. There's a typo here. There you go. So essentially, when you set the icon, you unset the paintable, and when you set the paintable, you unset the icon. That is a pretty trivial thing to do. And then we go into the widget, and we also bind it here. So object property. Because GTK image has a paintable, yeah, new from paintable, as a paintable property. There you go. The paintable property, we can bridge it directly from our tag to the image here. We could also replace icon with gicon to match the GTK image API, so it's easier to think about. If I didn't do something stupid, should be using the royal we. If I didn't do something stupid here, it should work. I did do something stupid. Probably it's an ordering problem there. Yeah. Another thing that I have to remove is the focus ring here. I need to... this is going to be an interesting problem. Because so you can see there's a focus here, and then the focus should be dropped from this widget. But this is kind of a like background transparent or something. Okay, so maybe I cannot undo this stuff. I only can deal with the last set. Value wins. Oh, why is it not working there? Okay. Oh, it's a sync create, I bet. I know what it is. It's the sync create here. Yeah, because paintable is going to be null, and the icon is going to be null here. So I'll have to add, instead of using a simple bind property, I'll have to have a specific update the icon. So I cannot use a binding because I have multiple properties competing for the same widget here. So instead of sync create, I'll need an explicit update the tag icon self, something like this. And then dw tag widget. Okay. So we can also remove this here. So we can do something like if adw tag get, and it's, I'll have to add API for that. We can do something like this, gdk widget hide, self icon, or actually let's do this widget set visible self icon adw tag that as icon. And then we go inside tag here and we do something like this, available in all, we do in the tag as icon. Go back here. Where are you? Icon paintable, and here. Something like this. We'll also have to rename a couple of things here, because now as icon conflicts with the icon property, so we'll have to rename that. Let's do this right now. Actually, no, we'll have to do something a little bit more complicated. Icon type not equals icon. So let's do it a little bit more. It's gonna sound a little bit more complicated, but it's actually the only way to make it work decently here. So tag icon none, tag icon g icon, icon printable, and this is going to be tag icon. Then we basically need to do here. We basically have to do something that is like a discriminated union. So we have an enumeration type that says here's what it's contained inside this object, and then here are the fields that are going to be set depending on the enumeration value. So, okay, this stuff stays the same, but this stuff gets changed because we have to rename stuff. We have to rename the fields here. We also have to rename the enumeration here, so we can use gicon instead of icon. We need to call it G icon, and G icon here, call it G icon. Okay. Then the API is going to be renamed G icon, G icon. This way, self G icon, and there you go. And here as well. So if self paintable is not null, then we do self icon type equals tag icon paintable. Let's move it inside a separate helper function. Okay. Icon type. So we have to call it once and not 27 bajillion times. And here again. And we do this here. Time completion. What the hell are you doing? Icon type. Paintable. No. So every time we add a new icon type, we add a new element of the enumeration, and then we can always discriminate what we are doing. And as icon will return true if we have anything except icon none. Update icon time, there. So you can set whatever you like, but at the end of the day. And then we enter the tag widget, and yeah, as icon here, and then we set the visibility depending on this, and then we do GK paintable. We'll need some private API for that though. Okay. We'll need some private API in tag. So we'll have to do, otherwise, otherwise we have to copy exactly the same kind of approach that we used inside the tag object. So let's instead use this. We already have a private header for the tag. Yeah, that comes in handy. So we are going to do a w tag icon type. And we are going to move the tag icon type there. Gonna rename it. Gonna move it inside the private header. And then inside the tag, we are going to rename that, the values there, here. Has icon, and then we return this private icon type. Okay, and then we go into the widget here, and then we do w tag icon type, switch icon type, G icon, I'm going to do something like this. Okay, so it's going to be GDK, no, G icon, and then we break. Yeah, I managed to confuse the indentation engine for GNOME Builder. Okay, no, not this one. Okay, here. GK paintable. And here we also break. Then we add a case that won't do anything, and the default as well, because tag as icon will return false if icon none is set, which means that we don't have to set anything. The widget will be invisible. And we also add a default case to fall through. But basically every time we add a new type of icon, like icon name, if we're using a themed icon, then we'll automatically switch into this. We'll automatically add the switch here. And then we can remove this stuff and update it manually every time we set a new tag. And in theory, we would need to update the image every time we change it as well. So add gobject notify, but not for the time being. I'm still debating whether or not the tag should be mutable post construction. So I'm thinking, oh, sorry, 1 second. Mute. As I was saying, not feeling 100% today. But basically, I'm still considering whether or not the tag object should be mutable post-construction. Mostly because I'm not entirely sure that it makes sense to have a tag that can change. Like, for instance, it can have a different label or have a different icon or have the show button like randomly change. Okay, I did something stupid there. Yep, I didn't cast. And other than that, yeah. Yeah, not tag icon none. Here. And G icon here. At this point, we can replace this with the API. What else? Here. Oh yeah, I need to update the API there as well. Not icon, but G icon. Done. Get G icon, set G icon there. Okay. And the public API is set G icon. And yeah, here. What else have I done here? Yeah, okay. Okay. I love the fact that I'm getting probably enough followers that my Twitch channel is starting to get spam bots, which is very interesting. Okay. What is it doing? Oh, this is great. It's stalling now. What the heck? But yeah, the fact that I'm getting spam bots is great. Just what I needed. What is it doing? No idea. Okay, so let me double check that I've done all the changes. Icon there. Okay, that is done. G icon here. Okay. Sometimes builder just, I don't know if it's builder or if it's flatpak or anything else that gets confused and starts spinning. I don't know also if it's a problem of my of some cache or stuff like that. Okay, let's restart. Okay, let's see. I have to check the logs for builder and see what happened there, why it got stuck. But right now I'm not entirely interested. Let's see. Whoa, what the hell happened there? Oh yeah, of course. I'm a dum-dum. I forgot to do this. Okay. Yep, now it's working. Okay. So a little bit of a cleanup there. Yeah, I'll have to figure out why it's doing this. Let me see if I can get the inspector there. Okay, so tagged entry. Not miscellaneous. Properties. There's a flow box. Okay, so the flow box is there. Let's see. Okay. Let's go inside there. So in this case, the flowbox child is there. Okay, this can target, it's fine. The flowbox child here is the CSS name. What kind of CSS does it have? It has a background color, and we don't want that. Okay. So let's see what we can do here. So tag entry flow box child background transparent. Okay. No, it's not. Let's say color. It has a bunch of colors there. We basically want it to be completely transparent there. Maybe it's the flow box that is it has a background. So let's see. Okay. Entry there. Oh, it's an entry. It's not a tagged entry. Why? What the hell? Let me double check. why is the tagged entry using... Oh, it's using entry because it's styled like an entry, but it's a tagged entry. Okay, I need to change that. Entry. Okay. So it's a tagged entry, yes. This is the flow box, and this is the flow box child, and this is the tag. And the button is not visible. The tag here, yeah. So this is transparent, but the flow box child has a style. Yeah, here. Why does it have a style? So if I add a tag, I don't get a style. It's the first one, maybe? Because here doesn't have it. So maybe it's the focus. So it's really... Okay. Yeah, it's the outline, probably. Let's see. Outline. This is why I need a designer here, because I honestly have no idea where it is coming from. There's no border image. There's a border radius of whatever. Because it's this one. It's definitely this one. Because if I go here... No, there's a border there as well. Let me see if the outline is different. Outline width is 0. This is a background though. What the hell is it doing here? I don't know where it's coming from. Where is it coming from? I mean, it's... Yeah, it's the key focus. It's the focus ring. Maybe the flow box. I mean, you shouldn't be showing anything. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it should. I mean, it shouldn't be showing. So this is the focus ring, which is fine, but the background should not be showing at all. At the very least, the focus should not be on shown there on the flow box. I mean, if I go on the flow box, not the flow box child, but the flow box, I can focus. Yeah. Yeah, it skips everything, right? Which is correct. It shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, that is fine. Yeah, I will definitely need somebody that understands the Adwaita styling mechanism to deal with this. Because I can deal with this stuff, but not with the... I can deal with the CSS stuff, but I cannot deal with the way the style is applied. Well, it's not where the style is applied, but why the style is applied in this way. There are some rules that I'm not privy to. Yeah. Okay, so... And also, as I said, Flowbox is the wrong container. It's the wrong layout policy. I should have a custom widget here to hold the tags with a different policy that reflows without trying to align everything into columns. Yeah. Because if I remove this, and then I also... So if I do this here, yeah, it's not focusable. I can still switch here as a button here, but it shouldn't be doing that. It's probably, maybe it's active, not focused. Yeah, it's selected otherwise. Oh, there it is. It's the selected bit. Yep. Okay, found it, finally. Because we are still interested in the other, and if we're doing... Here. So if we go back here and we put the focusable bit, so... We can still do the focus ring, right? That it's fine. but we don't want it to be selected differently. Okay, so that's fine. We need to go into the style here. The tagged entry doesn't set, yeah, the tag box as a tags class there. So we can go inside, we don't have a tagged entry. Do we have entries inside the style sheet? Widgets, entries here. So this is the basic entry, and this is the tree view entry. We can also do here tagged and then we have it's a mix-in, so and then we have a flow box tags. What we do, selected background color transparent, background image none, and border radius 0. So we undo a bunch of stuff there. Okay. Let's see if that fixed our problem. No, we're still having that. Damn it. Ah, typo here. Still there. Damn you. Maybe I just don't entirely understand the syntax there. So, tagged entry, yeah, it's tags. As I said, I have no idea how SAS works. I'm just trying to figure out stuff. Oh, there it is. Now it's working. Yeah, I honestly don't understand SAS. So I'm trying to figure out my way around it. So yeah, we can still do key navigation there. So we have a focus ring, but we don't get that background. Okay. 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 So we need to plug in, well, as I said, the styling at this point, I will have to leave it to, I must consult someone experienced, to use the old term. So let's figure out the rest of the functionality of the tag. So in this case, this is the button here, the close button. The close button should remove the tag from the entry. So first of all, we need to plug the close button here, which means go inside the tagged entry. When we create the tag object, the tag widget here, we connect close, sorry, not close, but so we have two options here. One is exposing the internals of the tag widget to the tagged entry. We have a private tag widget header file for that reason. Tag widget private. So one option is to expose the tag widget button to the tagged entry, either directly, so exposing the instance structure here, or exposing like a getter function. So something like this: ptk button uw tag widget get close button. And then inside the tagged entry, we get the tag widget, the close button, connect to the click signal, and then we call remove, which is fine to a point, but it's kind of violating a bunch of additional, like, there's a bunch of layering violation. We don't want to expose internal widgetry, especially if in the future we are going to make the tag widget public for other uses. Then exposing its internals is a huge no-no. So another option instead is to add a signal there. So we add a signal to the tag widget and we emit the signal. We don't have, yeah, since the final widget, the final class, we don't have to expose anything there. But yeah, we can add a new signal. So let's add one. Okay. How do we call it? Closed. It's the close button, and the close button show close as well. So let's call it, yeah, closed. And then we do the usual. Move this here. And then we install a new signal here. G signal new. The signal name is going to be closed. And then I never remember the arguments. I probably added a million signals in my life, but if I had to remember everything every single time, I would probably just not do that. Okay, so we are going to use adw type tag widget here. Then the signal flags. We run it. We don't care because we don't have derived classes. So we can run it last. It's fine. Then we don't have a class offset because we don't have a class closure. We don't have an accumulator there, and we don't have data there. We also don't want a marshaller because we don't care about that. So it returns nothing, but it has, no, I don't want to update Steam, but it has an argument. We are going to pass the tag. There you are. So here we are going to connect click signal. Okay, it's going to be on close, right? And we pass self. Or let's call it this way. Widget close clicked, and we also do gsignal connect swap here. Okay, we go back up. And then we get, yeah, we don't care. And we do gsignal emit, self, object signals, closed, no quark, and then we pass the tag. And that's it. See if I could, yeah. What happened there? What is it doing? Probably did some... what the hell happened here? Oh, yeah. Jesus. Thank you very much, C, for being terrible. Okay, so now we can do gsignal connect, widget, closed, on tag, closed, self. Then static void on tag, closed, widget, AW tag, and then ADW tag and create. And here we can remove the tag. So we call ADW tag entry remove tag. So we don't have to, we pass the tag here because it's easier. Otherwise we'd have to call ADW tag widget get tag, which is pretty much the same, but it's, yeah, it's easier to deal with this way. So we don't have to care about that. We could even do something like this. Connect swapped. And literally tag entry and close it here. So once again, if I didn't do anything stupid, that worked. Here we go. Okay, that was a good bit. Okay, that worked fine. So adding a signal is a lot better than adding some random stuff there, some random accessors to the internals of the widget. But now what we really want to do is whenever we add a tag, we want to be able to click on the tag, not the button here, but the tag, and have it activate the action that we wanted to deal with. So in order to do that, let's see. Okay, so we need, inside the tag widget, we need to add a gesture. We are going to use a GTK gesture click. So we simply add this gesture here to the widget. So, okay, GTK gesture click. So a GTK gesture click has a bunch of signals there. Here, it's an event controller, so it will take care of the state of keeping track of the state of the input for you. And then we add it to the widget. Okay, it's a GTK widget itself, and then GTK pen controller. And we need to close this here, typo. So just your click has a bunch of signals: pressed, released, and pair released here. We might want to use the single one, maybe. Instead of a click. Well, no, a click is fine. Yeah. So if we want to go how it's done, it's what GTK button uses internally. So we go inside GTK button. Here, we want to set a bunch of stuff there, and we want to check like press release. But at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. We can also store it internally, like self gesture like this, if we want to. And we're gonna remove that. We don't have to remove it because gestures are owned by the widget itself. So we are only keeping let's see, what does this return? A GTK gesture. What it does is here, GTK widget add controller is a transfer full method, or that is, you pass the event controller here and the widget takes full ownership. The ownership is transferred from you to the widget itself, which means that at this point you don't have to remove references or add references. It's there, and as long as the widget exists, the gesture exists within the widget. Okay, so let's do a couple of things that GK button also does. So basically we are kind of re-implementing a button without necessarily actually using GTK button, because we are a button inside another button. We have a button inside another button. Kind of. Let's just say that. It's kind of that way. But yeah, the other thing we mustn't do is changing the propagation phase. So GTK button, which we use for the close button, captures events. So events come into from the windowing system and go from the top level, so the window, and then traverse the hierarchy of the UI until they hit your widget, the widget that actually received the event, and then go up again, traverse the hierarchy once again. So what we want to do is have the GTK button inside the tag, which is the close button, to have precedence over the tag itself. This means that clicking on the close button will close the tag without activating it. But if we're pressing somewhere else, we don't care about that. So we don't go through the entire like hierarchy there, which means we don't care about capturing or not. We only care about when we tap there. So we want to emit the gesture on release. So G signal connect. Okay, it's going to be ADW tag widget released, and we are going to also swap this. So we go up again here. So it's going to be, let's go just here, release shipping. Click release. So it's going to be static void ADW tag widget click release. Yes. The coordinates of the release and the gesture click, which we don't care about because we have a reference to that already. So the first thing we have to do is GTK gesture set state. We claim the event sequence, which means we stop the emission there. We don't care other gestures attached to the widget will run. So we claim the gesture there. And then at this point, we activate the action on the tag that is associated with the widget. So in order to do that, let's see. We basically have to get the action out of the tag here. Get action name here. And we are going to emit it. We're going to activate the action on the top level, probably. Let's see what toast does. Yeah, toast widget here. Action clicked. There we go. Good. So, what is it doing? Toast widget there. Oh yeah. Oh good. Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, this is doing it slightly differently. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, right. So we activate the action on the tagged entry. Maybe. Oh, it's ancestors. It's fine then. Okay. Activate action variant because we care about that. Okay. So what we are going to do is we do GTK widget activate action variant on ourselves, and we use the AW tag get action name self tag, and then we get the AW tag get action target value. So we use the functionality inside GTK widget to activate an action. So the action is specified on the tag, and so also the value of the action. But you can, in theory, well, not in theory, you probably will have an action defined on your top level, for instance, or your application instance, or any other widget inside your hierarchy. So you will, what this function will do is traverse the hierarchy of your UI, starting from the tag widget, which is private, so you cannot add any action there, but you can add it to the tagged entry, for instance, or the window in which the tagged entry exists. And it will activate the action on that widget as soon as it finds it, using the name and the target value. So let's see what happens there. Yeah, bunch of, yeah, priv. Copy and paste there. Self self, and self. So let's try and see what happens when we go into the tagged UI, tagged entry here. I need to go inside the demo. So we can try and see if that works. Okay, pages, tagged entry here. Fix the typo here. And then here. Okay, so we want to add an action there. Okay. So how do we do that? It's an action map. So we'll just add action. Or add binding action. So we have a bunch of actions there, but we need to add an action map. So we will have to do I don't have access to the entire window from this subclass here. So I have to basically I have to do something else there. I have to create the action itself and stuff like that. So simple action tag action equals no, and then we add it. We connect to the activation signal. And then we have to add it to a simple group. So we have to do widget should implement action group, action map. Okay, GTK widget, where are you? Here. No, implements, no. Okay. Right. GTK widget insert action group. That's it. Okay. So G simple action group. Um, there, and then GTK widget add insert action. Insert, not inset. Let's call it this way. That is on by the color of the function, so we can call the object unref on the group, and we can also unref the tag. Let's move it here. So I'll have to add this to the example section. Okay. Let's do this here. This is worthy of having a specific example in the tutorial for adding actions. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and on that click, it doesn't exist right now. On that click activated. Let's rename it a little bit. On. No, it's fine. On tab click. So this is going to be a G action. The G parameter is going to be the variant parameter is going to be null. And this is going to be addw demo page tag entry here. Let's see if it breaks. Okay. Yeah, it's not activated, it's activate. Okay, activate. Haha, yay, I did something stupid. Okay. Oh yeah, of course. I need to add a tag there. So let's see. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. Entry UI. The tag is here, and I need to specify the property name, action name. This is gonna be flip. Has to be the full. And then I have to add some validation there, because otherwise nothing is going to work. Yep, that worked. It's a little bit of a roundabout way compared to signals. People are used to like the click signal to be a lot easier to understand, but in this case we can bridge sorry about that. We can bridge a model object like ADW tag to widgets that exist within the space without having to necessarily create a signal that can be connected, because now we can have multiple actions as well. So first of all, I need to go back here and I need to check if there is an action name associated with it. So we can do here const char action name. We actually return, and then we can do action name here. So now if we create a new tag at runtime, we're not going to crash. Yeah. And the other thing I can do is now we go back here and we add a new tag. So at this point we can do ADW tag set action name. Let me double check that the API is correct. Set action name. There it is. And we can call it something else, like tags, movable, and then we can have static void on tag removable. Okay. This is a bad indentation. And then we can add a new action as well. Here, the simple action. Actually, I can immediately show simple action. I can demonstrate how to do parameterized stuff. So at this point, we can use G variant type. It's going to be E connect action activate callback on tag removable activate self the action map add action Uh, Otherwise, we're gonna shadow the declaration. Here. So we added an action here, the removable action. It has a parameter called of type integer. We add it, and then when we add a tag here that is removable, we also add dw tag set action. Need to double check the API. Set action target. Here. Where is it? Here. Target tag G variant type I, and the last tag value. Okay, and then here, instead of not using the parameter, we have the parameter here. So we are going to do jprint removable tag activated yeah, add action. Yeah, that was stupid. Where are you? Here. Where are you? Yep. Here. Okay. Yeah, it's a format string. Oh, what are you doing? Okay. So the first one will keep doing the tag activated one. We add a tag and we press it, and we can see here the identifier of the tag. So we add a new tag, and now the tag 1 is activated. That's 0. So now you can do parameterized stuff. And since it's a G variant, you can parameterize a lot more than a simple integer. You can parameterize the label, you can parameterize the identifier there. As long as the action here understands multiple types, then you can serialize it in any way, shape, or form you want. So you can even set the label, you can do whatever else you want there. And it's a lot more powerful than a simple signal, because a simple signal requires you to create, to install a signal in the class, and then you specify the number of arguments there and everything else. And once you're there, you cannot change it anymore. Whereas here, you have the flexibility of having a name defined on the action itself, on the widget itself. So the widget defines the action that it responds to, and it can also have, like, it can be namespaced in this case. Like, we namespaced all the action here under the tags namespace, and it's associated to the widget itself. And then we can emit everything else from that particular event. So it's a lot more. It's a little bit more complicated. There are more moving parts. You have an action group that you have to insert inside the widget, and you have actions that you have to insert into the action group. But at the end of the day, you specify the action here on the tag on the model object, and you specify the value for each of these actions. And it's all there stored inside the tag, and it's not part of your code to a point, because then you can, even if you define the tags directly inside the XML, you can tell it, oh, I want to have this particular action name associated with the tag. So every time you click on the representation of the tag widget, then this action will be emitted. So it's again, it's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more expressive as well. There are a couple of more levels of indirection, but it's more expressive. It's more interesting than a simple, here's a name, just call this function kind of situation. And again, you can serialize a lot inside a variant. You could theoretically associate a bunch of state for, I don't know, an entire contact, for instance. Let's assume that you're writing using the tagged entry, you're writing like the from field. So you do here for my email, and then that one gets turned into a tag, for instance. And then you want to click this to handle this, and instead of having to connect to every single widget inside here, you can, whenever you create a tag, you literally have the ability to serialize your contact there and have a lot more functionality whenever you press the tag, like showing all the data about it, or being able to switch between email addresses. If the contact has more than one email address, you can switch between them because you just serialize the entirety of the relevant information of the tag. Instead of having to, like, when pressing here, go recover the contact and then from the contact get a list of email addresses. You can literally, creating the tag, when you are creating the tag, you can put all the relevant information that you're going to use when activating the tag directly inside the parameter for the action. So it's a lot simpler that way. You don't have, the data is already there when you press the button. So again, it's a lot more expressive than the typical action, the typical signal callback mechanism. But this is actually pretty much already a very functioning widget as far as I'm concerned. The last bit that I'm not going to do today because it's way late, and also it's, again, not feeling 100%, so it would take me a lot more to design than to implement. Is the ability to tokenize the contents of the entry and straight up adding them to the tags. But yeah, this is actually pretty good, if I do say so myself. And it's not even that big of a deal. So it's 200 insertions. That's not bad. It's fairly small. I still need to document everything eventually, but let me close a bunch of stuff there. Yeah. Remove here. No, that's fine. It's fine. So basically, yeah, I think this is kind of a good approximation of what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about this API. So you have a tag object that describes the tag with a label, whether or not it should have a close button, whether or not it should have an icon, the action as well, and action value. And then that is placed inside the tagged entry widget. Let me find the header file that I closed. So tagged entry widget here. You add a tag, you remove a tag, you get the list model of tags, you can remove them all. This one is not implemented, so I'll remove it for the time being. And then you place it there, and that's all there is. Every time you add a tag, it will add a widget there, which represents the actual tag. Right. And then the widget will proxy the close signal from the button, and will activate the action using the name and the value from the action itself defined on the tag. And then all you have to do is add an action entry, tagged entry. The tagged entry will basically have the ability to place tags directly inside the UI definition file, or it will let you add new tags with an action name and action target. And so on and so forth. Yeah. Yeah, apart from that, the style is the last remaining bit. The style is kind of drab. And there are some weirdness there, but again, I don't know CSS. I don't know Sass. That is my problem, really. I don't really know Sass. So yeah, like this maybe. So I can do something like left to right. Gonna have a padding like this, and instead here, right to left. It's going to have a padding of top 4px 0, 0, something like that. So basically like this. It needs a lot more love there, especially with all the white space and the sizing of each individual element. So it's not that huge. The tagged entry will also need to have some additional like spacing so it doesn't flop around, because if you see here, come on, I know you can make it, come on. I don't know why it's rebuilding it. Probably because I changed the header file. Yeah, I changed the header file. So a tagged entry here, if I add a tag, it changes the size because now I have text and a close button here. It shouldn't change the size. If I remove, the entry just flops around a little bit. So you should have a minimum size equal to the minimum size of the tag object inside it. Here, here, here. The tag widget label here should have probably a minimum size, but also should have a maximum size, so the tag doesn't suddenly become like run away in size if people start adding a ton of stuff there. The margin here would be interesting to deal with. It's going to be slightly different there. But yeah, for this stuff, you really need a designer. I'm not a designer. I barely have taste. So I cannot really put myself here and try to design everything or every detail. That's why we have a design team. Which sounds terrible saying it out loud, but yeah, this is why we have a design team. So developers like me don't start like trying to have taste. Okay, so actually what we want to do now is what kind of history do I have here? So I have a tagged entry and I have a demo. So we want to restructure the history a little bit. For starter, we want to add the tag object. Okay. Then we want to, let's close a bunch of stuff here. So, what do we have here? We have widgets header that has a tag here. And then we have Mason. Okay. So, since we want to restructure the history like nothing happened, I saw a comment, a C++ comment somewhere. Here, inside the tagged entry though. We'll clean that up. Okay. So we are going to add source widgets here. And then we are going to modify the Mason build so it doesn't have the tagged entry header and doesn't have the tagged widget and tagged entry here. So we'll have to fix a bunch of stuff there, but it's going to be fine. Okay. It's going to generate a conflict, but we don't care right now. So commit, add tag, the ADW tag, yes, represents tag inside input or any other future widget that will use. So now we add the tag widget, which is a private widget. What are you doing? So we add source AW tag widget. Let's see, and AW tag widget private. Okay. Let's see what else is there. Okay, no, it's fine. So ADW tag, the ADW tag widget is a representation of an AW. Now we modify the meson file to reintroduce the tagged entry. Here, and as a public header here. And then we go here and we reintroduce the okay. So add ADW. We need to modify the tagged entry to remove that. We'll have to fix the documentation, but the documentation will come later. So tagged entry ch. Okay. Okay. And now we are going to modify here. Except I'm doing like history surgery on the Git history because I can be slightly obsessive about this stuff. Then we add the style sheet. Style W tag widgets. The ADW tag widget is not public, but it should be styled appropriately. Okay. And then we modify the demo. Just tagged entry, UI. And we fix up that demo application. Now we rebase on top of name using auto squash. We'll have a couple of conflicts there. Yeah, as expected. We are going to go inside widgets and meson build. Widgets. Okay. Here. Okay, we're going to save this. And then meson build. There you go. We also have another, yeah, here. Okay. What are you doing? The commit utility can get very confused about what is a commit and what it isn't. There we go. No. Yeah, it's gonna get very confused. Finding additional UI elements that describe the contents or a portion of the contents of an entry. Tag entries can be used for showing refinements to a search entry or for refinements are search entry. Specializations to a form or UI controls to replace X, Y, breaker. Okay, current existing users of similar UI are the entry that is used by Nautilus, Epiphany, and photos. NS token yield as used by and how's it called? Chip input chips as used by Material by Android. Okay, now we have other conflicts there. Okay. We now have other conflicts. Okay. Because I forgot to yeah, I'll have to do that again. Okay. And wait and meson. Yeah. I'll have to do it again because I'm a dum-dum. I should have rearranged the history. Okay, so now I can rebase without the auto squash bits because I need to move these out of the way. Tag object, tag widget, entry, demo application, and the style. Or maybe we can... Yeah, no, the style can come last. Okay. Load. Reload. This one gets closed. Okay, let me see if Git was smart enough to deal with this stuff. So, tagged entry. Yeah, it wasn't smart enough. I'll have to redo this. Yeah, also the commit message is completely busted because of commit being weird and sometimes broken. Okay, so we're gonna base on top of origin, and we'll have to edit here, here, and here. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we reload this and we reload this. Widgets. So add a tag object with div staged. Okay. Okay, so now we need to add here, include ADW tag. So we do git add source libadwaita, and we go into the meson file, and we need to add here ADW tag header and ADW tag, let's see, the private file doesn't matter. Git commit amend, and we commit. Continue. We add the tag widget, and the tag widget is going to have a change in the meson file here. Okay, commit amend. Okay, and now we have the tagged entry. Perfect. Now these two are broken because now we need to add this here, and the meson build will have a change here, and here. Now we have to amend the commit. Oh no, what the hell? What are you doing? Git space continue. Yeah. And we have to delete all this stuff. Let's see if I didn't make a huge mess. No, the tagged entry is fine. Tagged entry is fine. Okay. Tag widget should only modify the meson file. That's it. And the tag object should only modify the widgets header and the meson file. Perfect. Okay. Okay. We are fine now. So we fetch from the origin. We rebased on top of main. And we git push to our merge request. And we go back here. And I'll have to leave a comment on the new approach. Yeah. Holy crap. Okay. Oh, I was terrified that every time you do some git surgery inside a rebase, it's, yeah, terrifying. Okay. Right. And now on top of this, I can deal with the documentation and stuff like that. But yeah, essentially this is kind of what I was thinking about. And I'll have to document the changes from the previous iteration to the current one. But that can wait. So let's transition back to my big head. Oh, because it's been more than 3 hours, so it's time to close up everything. It's Friday, it's late, and I will have to take something because now I'm feeling really crappy. Let's hope it's not. I'll have to take a test at this point. I really have to take a COVID test because it's not great. I'm not feeling that good. God. Anyway, so what have we done today? Today I essentially kind of finished my second iteration over the tagged entry widget for libadwaita, which means adding all the API that I wanted to, the new tag object, the fact that tag objects have an action, can activate an action, they have a close button, can close they can remove the tag from tagged entry, they can have an icon or a paintable for more complex things. I added all the plumbing and all the various bits and pieces of infrastructure to ensure that everything is working correctly. I also tried, and yeah, of styling the tags. I'm not great at styling, so I'll have somebody else deal with that. Hopefully somebody with taste. So yeah, I think this is a good second iteration, I'll probably do another couple of iterations on this API, because the main thing that I want to add is the ability to tokenize the entry, the contents of the entry. Once you tokenize the contents of the entry, it means that you can automatically create tags depending on the user input, instead of having to manually add a button, press a button to add a tag, which is kind of still a use case. Is a fundamental use case, because a lot of stuff that we have works that way. But the overall idea is that being able to turn text into tags on input is a more interesting use case for a tagged entry. And it's also something that already exists in other platforms and other toolkits. So having it would be much more interesting. So yeah, I'll see how I feel on Monday, if I'm completely knackered and I won't be able to stream, or if I recovered enough for me to do that. But we'll continue on this path, and especially if I'd love to get some early feedback from the design team, but I also know the design team is pretty busy, because we are really close to the GNOME 42 release, so I don't want to impose additional work on them. They are going to be occupied with the release notes, they're going to be occupied with taking screenshots and doing all other stuff for the GNOME 42 release on when is that, the 19th of March? Yeah, it's gonna be like in 2 weeks time, so hopefully after GNOME 42 is out, we can go back and iterate further on the design and use cases. Having said that, it's time for our usual YouTube outro. If you enjoy watching me struggle with the GNOME software development platform, both in terms of writing code and documenting it, then subscribe to my YouTube channel. Or if you want to watch me struggle live, then you can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ibasi, and you will see what writing the GNOME application platform actually means. For everyone who's still here, thank you very much for following me in this adventure, and have a great rest of your Friday, and have a terrific weekend, and stay safe, everyone. And I shall see you all hopefully on Monday. Otherwise, I'll just again follow me on Twitch or on Twitter to get notifications whenever I start streaming. So other than that, bye.